That's not history. Okay. But that's clearly supposed to be Agrippa I, because Agrippa I, Josephus says, dies while posturing, looking like a god on the stage, and suddenly he keels over, and he's looks like he's been poisoned, or something's gone wrong with him, and he dies. So that's not the other Herod of Chalcis. So there's two possibilities here. And they were all called Herod, so Herod the king doesn't tell us anything. And why were they kings by this time? This is not Herod the Great. This is 40 AD, 41, 42, 43. Why were they kings? Because when, and it's getting complicated, Tiberius was died, I forget if he was assassinated or not, and Caligula took over. Caligula and his cousin, Claudius, it's all in the I, Claudius series if you've ever seen that, were very friendly with Agrippa I, who they'd been brought up with in Rome, because Herod had sent him to Rome to be educated, because he was the daughter of the son of his Maccabean wife Miriam, or the grandson of her. He had Maccabean blood, he had royal blood. And so when they were so impressed by this Agrippa, Herod that they called him, that he had helped them get the emperorship, that they sent him back as king to Palestine like his grandfather and like his Maccabean blood. So when Caligula came on, Agrippa I was appointed king, not just tetrarch, ethnarch, whatever. And that's in the late 30s, early 40s. So that's what we have. So Acts is accurate here, but anyone reading this wouldn't know one Herod from the other, right? They're all Herods, and it's just unclear, and I'm not surprised believers are confused. Anyway, he killed James, the brother of John, with the sword, i.e. he beheaded him. And the Jews liked that, line 3, according to Acts, of course. And he was going to seize Peter, too. And it was the time of the unleavened bread, and they put Peter in prison, and then Peter, an angel, helped Peter escape from prison. I'm hurrying here because my time is running short, line 7. And then Peter gets out of prison, and the guards are ultimately executed for having let him go. Remember, you'll see later in Acts that Paul has a chance to escape from prison, and a miracle occurs, and an earthquake happens, and the building falls down, or the walls fall down. It's in Asia Minor. And what happens when Paul is presented with that opportunity? He refuses to go because he doesn't want to get the guards killed. He's superior to Peter, according to the narrator. Now, that's what the narrator in Acts wants you to think. He's a real Christian. So anyway, regardless, he doesn't escape from prison. Guards are not killed. You'll have to decide how much of these stories you were prepared to entertain and not. That's your affair. But in any case, he hurries, and he goes to the house of a new character, line 12. Mary, the mother of the Lord, Mary, the mother of James and Simon and Jude, Mary, the mother of God, Mary, the mother of Jesus. No, Mary, the mother of John Mark. We've never heard of either of those two people before. A new character has suddenly intruded into the narrative. Now, you either accept that or you feel there's a problem. My only reason I think it's a problem is because he goes to this person, Mary's house, to do what? To leave a message, line 17, aside from the knocking and the Hellenistic women that are living there, Rhoda and a lot of other Hellenistic names and so on. He's knocking on the door, and the message, go tell these things to James and the brothers. What? James and the brothers? But, what James? We haven't met any other James yet. Well, I've introduced you to James. But you don't know any other James, theoretically. You follow me? Right? Why? Well, but the other James has disappeared. We got rid of him right at the beginning of the chapter. By the way, we're on the famine relief mission here, supposedly. So Acts is tidying things up a bit here. The authors of Acts have changed gears. I'll keep you a little bit because I'm enjoying this. I got on a good roll here, and my friend is here, and he helps me feel good. So because I know that some students like me, some don't. But the point is, I feel on a roll. So let me. You don't know who this James is. You got rid of the other James, but we're on a famine relief mission here, and so far I haven't heard a thing about this famine relief. Acts is tidying up rough edges here. It knows James has to come in. He's going to come in chapter 15, and he's going to come in chapter 21. So go tell these things to James. It looks like James has already been introduced to us, right? That's what Acts looks like. Anyone disagree with that? Because Acts should have said, well, this James was leader of the church. He was at least succeeded Peter. He was the brother of Jesus. He took care of things while Peter had to leave because Peter had escaped from prison under a death sentence. We would have expected some narrative material like that, wouldn't we? A normal narrative? No, we don't have a normal narrative. Because Acts doesn't want to tell us all those things. Or, and I think this is more the case, it already did tell us all these things, but someone erased it. And I told you when, I know you didn't like me doing that, I told you when I thought James was introduced. At the time of the election to succeed Judas the Sicarii. And then hang everything on poor Sicaries. They're the guilty ones anyway. They're the most hard people because they are the revolutionaries who cut people's throats. That's Judas Iscariot. So in any case, whatever it is, the death and succession to Judas Iscariot is, as I told you, takes the place of the introduction to James in whatever the initial material was. Now, may or may not be, you may not like that theory, okay, give me a better one. Why doesn't Acts tell us who James is? And how come Peter goes to Mary, the mother of John Mark, two characters we've never heard about before, to leave a message for James and the brothers? Wouldn't it be better if he went to Mary, the mother of James's house, to leave a message for James and the brothers? No. Someone theologically didn't like that Mary should have a son called James. That's my explanation. So the theologians have already got a hold of this, and we have a new presentation. We now have a new character to deal with Mary, the mother of John. All right. Okay, I got to hurry up. He leaves the message. James is finally introduced. We know who he is because I've been telling you for about 50 times about this guy. No one else has told us. Not even believers know who he is. And as you say, you go to your churches and they won't even know who this guy is. And why? They'll be totally confused because the other one was beheaded. In any case, the next thing we hear, line 25, the word, after Herod is eaten up by worms, the word of God grew and multiplied. That's the glue. The narrative continues, right? That's how we get on to the next episode. And Barnabas and Saul returned from Jerusalem, having completed their famine relief mission, bringing with them John Mark. That's why John Mark was introduced. But what happened in the famine relief mission? You got me? So all this was supposed to be about the famine relief mission. So something else has been put in the middle of all this about the famine relief mission, and the famine relief mission has gone. In any case, there's a problem with the narrative. A final point, chapter 13, by the way, is now going to go on to the church in Antioch. There are certain prophets and teachers at Antioch: Barnabas, Simeon, called Niger, Lucius, probably Luke, Manaen, probably Ananias, Herod the Tetrarch's foster brother. We're going to talk about that next time. We already have to some extent. And so on, the church in Antioch. But before that, one last point. Who was beheaded in Josephus at this time? At the time of the famine. All connected to the famine and Queen Helen's famine relief. Theudas. Thaddeus. Judas, the brother of James. Why do I say Thaddeus? Surname Lebbaeus. Why do I say Thaddeus, surname Lebbaeus, is Judas, the brother of James? Because in Matthew and Mark, he's Thaddeus, but in Luke's apostle list, he's Judas, the brother of James. And I say to you, Thaddeus is the same name as Theudas. And I say that who's really been beheaded is a brother, but it's another one of the brothers. It's Judas, the brother of James, who's beheaded here. In the wake of he's the Theudas. Anyway, it's too complicated, but that's why I was emphasizing Theudas. We'll pick up that next time. I hope you find it interesting. You can certainly run circles around anyone you know in your church with all this data because they won't know what you're talking about. And that's always fun, isn't it?